welcome you to the podcast on the military-industrial component in US-India partnership. It is my pleasure to introduce our special guest today, Air Marshal Matheswaran, recipient of Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vayu Sena Medal and founder, chairman and president of the Peninsula Foundation. He is the former Deputy Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, Policy Plans and Force Development at HQIDS, Tri-Services Command, and was the Senior Air Staff Officer of the Eastern Air Command. A very warm welcome to Christ University, sir.
Thank
we are
you.
very happy to have you.
Pleasure being here with you all. Yeah.
So let me begin by asking the first question. When it comes to India's defense sector, why do you think that the US, or what are the reasons that the US is so interested in it?
Well, one of the reasons is the geopolitical developments that have happened over the last 30 years. The Cold War ended and the bipolar nature of the international system collapsed with the unipolar dominance of the US. That has led to a certain developments, and now with the rise of China and the resurgence of Russia and the wars in Ukraine and Israel's war in Gaza, there is a massive churning of the geopolitical environment that's taking place. And added to that is India's sudden good growth in its economic structure, and India is the third largest economy to be soon, and will be crossing $4 trillion this year. And with all those factors, the US is looking at the possibility of its dominance, global dominance, which it has built up since 1945, is sort of under threat. That's one. And therefore, it's looking at major partners. India is a rising power, and therefore, it needs India on its side. And if it needs India on its side, then it would also want India to be linked and coupled with US technologies and US weapon systems. And India is looking for anyway to be self-sufficient in weapons and technology. And therefore, this is one of the reasons. It's a huge market for the US military-industrial complex, one. Second, it adds to, in any strategic partnership, the industrial partnership is extremely important. And military industry is the top end of national capabilities. And therefore, the US is offering a certain amount of capabilities to India, and India is looking at an industrial partnership as well. So it's a win-win for both sides. Notwithstanding the military-industrial and the military-to-military relationship issues, the two countries are democracies, and we have people-to-people connections. We are sending the largest number of students to higher studies in the US. We have a rapidly growing Indian diaspora, which is crossing 4 million mark, and Indians are playing, Indian origin Americans are playing a significant role in the American politics and leadership roles, and all that actually sort of brings everything together to look at India as the most important partner that US should cultivate. This didn't start today. It started with the Clintons' visit in 1999-2000 time frame, immediately after the Pokhran explosion, and the US has been gradually building up this partnership strength with India. And one of the drivers for that is that China has now gone past the red lines, and it's seen as a peer competitor to the US. And to therefore balance China, India is the possible contender and partner for the US. That's the reason.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, this brings me to my second question. What is India's focus in this partnership when it comes to the military-industrial component, and what are the joint benefits for both the countries in this?
Well, for India's focus, let's first understand that US or USA is the technology leader in the world. Okay, the leading technology research takes place. In terms of military technology, the USA is unparalleled in terms of its capabilities, be it in space, in weapon systems, in electronics, in sensors, in aircraft design and manufacture, whole lot of things, ships, submarines, everything. So, India, if it wants to be a great power, and our aspiration to be a great power is, there is no ambiguity about it, and we want to be a pole power in an emerging, we believe there's a multipolar world emerging. And you cannot be a pole power if you're not a military power. And you cannot be a military power on borrowed technologies.
Correct.
Correct? Or imported weaponry alone. And therefore, you need to create your own capabilities with weapons that are self-sufficient in terms of critical technologies in your control. And for that, you need to absorb technologies, research and develop technologies through value addition, and then design your own weapon systems. So the Indians are comfortable because most of us are Western educated, and therefore comfortable with the Western orientation of technology education. And a lot of Indians are working with leading American companies, and they have contributed immensely through research. And therefore, this partnership, if it develops well, the US is very protective of technology. They have tremendous amount of laws and barriers to control technology export. Notwithstanding all that, if there is a big business for the US and that manufacturing comes to India in joint ventures, and India absorbs the technology and then takes in its own value addition and its own research, we have a lot to gain. So this is not a short-term game, it's a long-term game. Then the question may be asked, we've had long-term relationship with Russia, and we've imported weapons from Russia, and we've been licensed producing Russian weapons. Then why haven't we, catapulted in that direction, or absorbed technologies and become self-sufficient? Well, I think we made some mistakes there. So the Russians haven't given, yes, we've done license production, but in terms of further value addition and further absorption and further research, we haven't done well enough in that area. In some areas we've done, but most areas we've not done well. And that, the cultures are different, and therefore we are looking at the West. And plus, if you actually get the technologies from the US, then you are also open to technology access from the Western European countries, which is UK, France, Netherlands, Denmark. They're also producing various components. There's a Denmark firm called Therma, which is a tier 1 supplier to Lockheed Martin. Correct. So, and they've tied up with Tata for certain radar production as well. Israel is a big partner. So our basket then widens, and that's one of the reasons.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, on that positive note, where is this relationship headed, and what do you think are the challenges that both the countries face right now?
Well, see, so in terms of relationship, I think there is a positive growth. The US has declared us as the most important strategic partner akin to its NATO allies, correct? India is very fiercely protective of its strategic autonomy, and it doesn't want to be in any military alliance. That's right from our independence, we've taken that stand, and I think it's an extremely important stand. The US has taken a long time to accept that reality. Today they have accepted that reality, and that shows the importance that US gives to India. While US is sanctioning Russia, and anyone who buys weapon systems from Russia is sanctioned, even Turkey, their NATO partner, has been sanctioned to some extent. And for India, they made an exception because they've understood the strong strategic relations that India has with Russia. And during Cold War time, the US never came to our assistance. It's the Russians or the Soviet Union that came to our assistance. And that military-industrial relationship still exists, and it cannot be reduced overnight. Besides, India doesn't want to reduce everything from Russia and fall into an import dependency on US. We want to reduce, but we want to build our own capabilities, be independent, and build a strategic partnership with the US, wherein we can actually, through technology diffusion, technology transfer, we can benefit as well. And they will benefit in terms of business and strategic partnership. So the joint approach, or each nation should understand each other's, spaces, their limitations, and their requirements. And if you play within that, both nations will gain immensely. Plus, in the Indo-Pacific domain, with China's rapidly growing power, and China is seen as a threat to US dominance, that is US's view. But China is also a threat to India in a big way. And therefore, this partnership to deal with China and counter China and stop China, to ensure that China stops being a threat to us, I think this partnership is extremely important.
Thank you so much, sir. So, to add to this, so when we talk about the China factor, is it because we catapult it too much? Like sometimes we only attribute the relationship between India and US in terms of anything to the big China factor. Is it only because of that? And like you rightly pointed out in the beginning, there are so many other reasons.
It cannot be. No, that would be a wrong correlation. I mean, China is a threat to us because of the problems that we have in the boundary disputes. But we must also remember China is also a very huge trading partner for us.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, our trade keeps growing, and adverse balance of trade is adverse for India as well. So there is a dependency on certain critical material imports from China as well. So, and second is China is our neighbor. I mean, you can't wish away that fact. And China is a huge power as well, technologically, economically, it's growing quite rapidly. And therefore, we don't want to have a huge demon right next to us. We want to resolve the problems, correct? And therefore, we don't want to deal with it, in a way where we want an eternal enmity with our neighbor. We don't want to do that. So we want to actually contain China from posing a threat to us, but at the same time, we want to resolve the differences. The US case is different. The US has been the dominant power, a global power. And that dominance is being threatened now by the rise of other powers. When India also rises beyond a certain limit, let's say we become a $10 trillion economy very shortly, and then we are rapidly growing towards $20 trillion, then US will see us as a threat. Okay. It's an economic threat, right? And therefore, we need to understand those nuances. So we work with the US. We don't want to be a threat to the US. We don't want to be a threat to Chinese either. We want to work together. But currently, since China is a threat to us, and US sees that China's over dominance in South China Sea, etc., are not in line with the universal principles of international norms, I think we work together in that area to contain China, which is, I think, quite a right thing to do.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for being with us on this podcast episode. I'm sure our audiences will really benefit by your expertise and your insights on this topic.
Thank you, Kriti. Pleasure being with you all.
Thank you so much.